Pisces, your October 2023 eclipse season reading. The star card is the energy you're leaving the month of September and moving into October with, and what a beautiful energy that is. I hope that you really do feel that recent lightness and alleviation. What comes with the star card is a message of hope and renewal. This could have indicated one of your dreams coming true, or really sinking into the idea that you deserve everything that's coming to you in terms of blessings and more. This star card to me speaks of acceptance. You're really now accepting the things that you can't change, and you feel so much more easeful for that. I think as well what has come with the star card, and you know, the Tower card comes right before this card in the chronological order, so sometimes they just infer each other without even being there. But we're going to pull more cards. We may see that card come through in this video or the extended, but this is kind of like a period of cleansing after a more stormy period for some. When we speak about acceptance, we also speak about surrender. So you're now surrendering to whatever comes your way. You have accepted, like I said, what you can't change, but also the people that you don't understand, they don't understand you, and you're not really on the same wavelength. You've had a lot of acceptance around that. So kudos to you, Pisces, because Seven of Swords, Seven of Wands for the energy through the month of October, hitting those eclipse season portals. I think we're going to pull more cards and clear this up so we can flesh out the meaning behind these cards some more. October is bringing with it a new set of challenges and obstacles to overcome before you reach your goal. So it's very nice that you're like setting the sort of entry-level position of your soul to like a very calm, surrendering and peaceful flow state of existence, where you kind of have recently had reason. Maybe it's been a miracle, maybe you've just felt like completely in awe and blessed, and some synchronizations happening for you. Maybe some really good news has come through that you've been waiting on. We'll clear this up in just a moment, but I think that's a really nice entry-level soul position to be on for the month of October as we enter, like I say in all my eclipse season videos, eclipse season, we're about to enter that season, and it is a period of change. It's a time where beginnings and endings seem to be a little bit more prominent or noted by us. And it's nice to go in there with just a very calm, sort of regulated nervous system, like letting go of a lot of fear. And like I said, in complete acceptance for what is, what you can change, specifically who you can't change, and surrendering to what comes up. Like I said, sevens represent challenges and obstacles. In the swords, you know, the Seven of Swords comes after the Five, the Six, and if we know anything about that journey, we know that the Seven of Swords is coming after kind of like a, you know, Six of Swords can be quite like the star card, right? It is a period of healing. It's a period of calming down and regaining some semblance of inner peace. And the Seven of Swords then presents us with a new set of challenges on the mental plane, where we're almost trying to sharpen our mental faculties again, because for whatever reason you were depleted of something. There was a bit of a sense of defeat along the way. I think this was actually this is like a lot further back than September, I think. And now I think the Seven of Swords is just going to come up and offer you an invitation and ask you, you know, around the mid-month point, around that first eclipse, solar eclipse in Libra, when there is quite a radical new beginning emerging in your world. Like, how have you adapted to this? How do you see things differently? And most importantly, how do you strategize now that you know better? How do you upgrade your sense of, how do you prove your sense of awareness that has been upgraded now? How do you plan better for your future? How do you take things that are important a little bit more seriously? The Seven of Swords also speaks to a lack of transparency, which can come up at that new moon solar eclipse, only to be revealed under the full moon lunar eclipse later in the month, where the brightness of the moon essentially will shine a spotlight on what isn't clear to you mid-month. So just keep that in mind. There could be something mid-month where you're like, that seems a little strange. I'm gonna just put a pin on that and come back to it, and I'm not gonna most importantly with the Seven of Swords, I'm not going to act in any hasty way before having all the information in front of me. The challenges then that are presented in the Seven of Wands are like, well, once you have become so victorious, once you've been, so successful so far in the goals you've been working towards, well, that's going to bring with it another whole set of challenges when you're in this vantage place, right? You're high up here, okay? And there's a lot of wands just, they're targeting you essentially, and you're beating them away in this imagery. That just basically tells me that you have reached a level of success, acclaim. You may have reached a superior position in your world, and as that happens, there are people then that are going to challenge you. People are intimidated by you. You might be intimidated by others as you rise up the ranks and become closer and closer to your goal. Around the end of the month, there is a real test of your mettle that you seem to overcome because you have the advantage. Let's check in with an archetype card now, Pisces, before we pull some more cards to clear up. I'm not going to take what came out there now because there was a few too many. This archetype is what Pisces has been embodying lately, and sometimes these archetypes stay with us for more than just 1 month at a time. This might have been for more than September and October, or depending, it could mean an archetype that you've been embodying that you're ready to transition out of this month. Next, we're going to pull more cards and clear up these messages. I have the Flame. To me, the Flame is very indicative of this Seven of Wands energy, not only because it is a fire energy, but because it takes courage, right, with the Seven of Wands. And for me, the Flame, I'm going to read the archetype now, but that does speak to me about a bit of courage and like lighting up the darkness. So I feel like that's you, even Pisces, like in the face of any challenges, you don't falter, you don't back down, and you really stick to your principles. Let's have a look at the Flame card now. It might take me just a moment to find this. But Pisces, thank you so much for being here. I love to have you. I love to read for Pisces. And of course, thank you so much for your time and energy. So we have the Flame, the fire, the spark, the glimmer. In Sanskrit, the word for fire is Agni. The ancient yogis saw the flame as the center of the abdomen and believed it to be responsible for our vitality and courage. When it is lit, we are connected to our purpose and sense that life is a sacred gift. It is said that those who cannot see the sacred around them have let their inner flame go out. To me, that's a lot about the Star card's acceptance and surrender. You can't convince people who have let their inner flame go out due to whatever, like a magnitude of different reasons. But it's about them not being able to see this awe and wonder and divinity around them at times, and sense of purpose and completeness and wholeness. And sometimes, Pisces, your light can be a little bit triggering for those who are essentially metaphorically in the dark. Think of this card as a call to reignite that fire, to cup your hands gently around those things that you've forgotten and protect the flame no matter how harshly the winds around it blow. It could be an inner archetype that begs you to light its wick. It is likely that the shaman would call to you with language of the flame. That's another card, so that might come up in the extended reading, which I'm going to link below, but so far let's see what we're working with here. So when we're in the light of the flame energy, we're seeing a lot of health and mental clarity and new ways of imagining things, and overall good digestion and wellness. In the dark, there's excess heat, which can come through, of course, as redness and rashes and I guess repressed anger, perhaps. And anger, it says here, and complete darkness. Okay, the archetype of fire is at the beginning of all transformation, purification, and manifestation. Nearly every spiritual lineage honors the flame. Meditating, like flame work or fire work, just like meditating in front of a candle, might call your awareness to where you're missing out on what is sacred in your world. Or if you're very much in tune with this archetype already, you may be thinking like you just want to give thanks and gratitude for the bravery and the sense of purpose and aliveness and well-being you're feeling right now. Let's pull some more cards and go deeper into this reading for you, Pisces. In the extended, I will be going even further into all of these messages and then pulling another archetype to see what you're stepping into next, as well as following a prompt for love if you're single or taken. I'll also look at spiritual purpose for October, and I will be looking at wealth and resources and career too in the extended. I won't mention that again. You know where to find it, linked in the description box below. Let's get back to this reading and clear up this beautiful energy of the Star card. I want to know, what you're healing from and what the biggest blessings that you've taken away from this journey have been. The Star card is the recent past. Take this whenever it resonates. 4, it could be late September or even beyond. The 6 of Cups, way back in the past, something from your deep past, some sort of a wound that you didn't even know was still open. And the 4 of Swords, which speaks to resting. And there we have it, that implied and inferred tower that I spoke about. They just go hand in hand, I had a feeling we would see it. The tower and the 4 of Wands. In fact, the tower in the background of the 4 of Wands is very much one and the same of the tower here. It speaks to the unraveling, the veil lifting, and the unraveling of what you thought was stable. The unraveling of the family dynamic. Sometimes, the 4 of Wands can speak to that. It can be the sudden loss of a job, a sudden loss of a title, a sudden loss of a sense of respect and authority in your domestic world, your personal life, or even in your professional life. It's like all of a sudden something about you wasn't seen as being stable or reliable or dependable or worth even talking to, or worth even your opinion, and this goes back, right? This goes back, and I feel like because of the 6 of Cups is often associated in tarot a lot about the past, so this could be going back to a childhood wound. This could have triggered something within you, Pisces, where you felt alienated, ostracized, like the black sheep. You could have felt at one point in your world like you weren't, able to really fit the mold or come together with people that really truly saw you, like your soul tribe. Sometimes maybe you felt like the stork dropped you off at the wrong house. The 6 of Cups is whatever that past wound was, be it not being validated, being neglected, not being seen for who you were, or being left out. The 6 of Cups recently, it's like that has to have been triggered, perhaps suddenly, out of nowhere, or perhaps just in quite a tumultuous way where this brought up a lot of emotion, a lot of turmoil for you. It was there so that you could check in with your healing. And I think because of the Star card and the power of the Flame card coming through as an archetype you've been working with, I feel like you may have pleasantly surprised yourself. And that's a little bit about the tower as well. Like, you're shocked, but not shocked in a bad way. You're kind of surprised that this didn't get you the way it would have before. You've been able to process things from a more kind of healed perspective, I believe Instagram, YouTube, and places like that don't really like the word HEAL and all of its derivatives, and I just think that that's very strange. They won't really promote videos that have this in the title and stuff. That's just a digression for my part. So I'm like, should I even? It's terrible that I would have to even sort of self-censor around using that kind of verbiage. It's very bizarre. But perhaps we can maybe sort of stretch our imagination and try and figure out why that would be, or maybe it's very obvious. The 6 of Cups and the Star card. This wound was triggered so that you could see how far you've come and how much more accessible processing and understanding, and again, acceptance and surrender when you have been reminded of those parts of yourself that are wounded from a long time ago. And the Four of Swords, it's natural that you may have wanted to retreat, take a rest, and kind of go within and become less sociable lately. And I feel like that has been a resting period for you in the lead up to what's happening now in October, which seems quite action-packed. I mean, challenges and obstacles, we don't always like to hear those words, but I feel like we have to do some real shadow work around that, because challenges and obstacles are a part of life. And not only do the sevens represent challenge and obstacles, they represent progress and magic. So without being challenged, without the success of overcoming obstacles in our way, how would we mark our progress? And how would we reflect then on the magic of our journey? So the Seven of Swords, you need your energy mentally and physically this month, because you're going to be put up against more tests. Yay! Let's see what the Seven of Swords testing energy looks like mid-month for you. This doesn't have to come up around the eclipse on the 14th, any of the days around before and after that, but it's kind of the marker I'm putting out there. The Queen of Cups and the Emperor. Parent dynamics. That's fun. This Queen of Cups and the Emperor, consider this the archetypal mom and pop. That's going to be so different for every single person watching. We all have different relationships with those archetypes in our life, and for some of us, we will be parents ourselves. So for those of us who are parents, we are checking in with, ourselves. Like, are we being honest with ourselves? Are we being present as parents? And all of the other questions we have, the difficult questions we have to ask ourselves. We might have to ask ourselves difficult questions about our own relationship to our parents. Are we on a healing journey with that? Or are we struggling to even see the reality of the situation still? Apart from that, they're the things that jump to mind immediately, especially since, the Six of Cups is, we infer childhood. Well, childhood goes hand in hand with the relationship with parents. But apart from that, let's see what else is coming through. I feel like it's very likely that you're going to have run into some sort of a challenge with a boss or somebody that you work with, business partner, some sort of a leadership personified person in your life, if that makes sense. You're going to butt heads with somebody who has quite a strong and commanding presence. If you're self-employed, the Emperor is very often self-employed, you kind of run into challenges around your game plan, your strategy. Like I said, I felt like at the beginning it was like a call for you to sharpen your mental faculties. It's kind of like to start to plan outside of the box, kind of try and, I know it's not easy to just say try and think in a more expansive way, or try and figure things out. It speaks to you needing to problem solve and come up with new ways of solving problems. So that might be just something to bear in mind if some issue comes up where you're like, oh, I'm stuck here, I don't know how to get around this. It might just require a braver, more courageous way of doing something. And with that Libra eclipse, solar eclipse on the 14th, it's conjunct the South Node, which is transiting through Libra. So the South Node is everything that was almost unhealthy about our collective and personal karma. It's almost everything that we want to improve upon. So in the sign of Libra, the shadow of Libra is sometimes deception, Libra. And I'm not talking about people with Libra placements. The shadow energy of Libra can be lying. It can be deception and people pleasing. So we're dropping all of that. That's what the South Node moving through Libra for the collective is inviting us to do. So if you've been lying to yourself about your energy, if you've been lying to yourself about any problems that are coming up for you professionally, or even with another person, a petty tyrant in your world, it might be time to take a fresh approach and a different outlook around that. The Seven of Swords and the Queen of Cups. I really do think that this is a family member, regardless if it's a mother figure or not. The Queen of Cups is somebody that's in your personal life, and you get the impression they're not being honest, and you know, that might be just a mirror for you, Pisces. Like, are you being fully honest yourself? But I overall think that you're starting to sense that there's a lack of transparency around a close, not necessarily feminine, but likely feminine energy in your life. We're going to clear that up a little bit more in the extended. Okay. But let's look at the Seven of Wands. I feel like you're ending the month quite triumphantly, even though it seems like it's a test still, even though it seems like there's like that fire. There is fire in your belly, the flame, but like you're managing. You're more than managing. You're kind of striving. You're kind of, I think you're very valiant here at the end of the month. The 28th of October sees us closing out the eclipse portal of the recent Scorpio-Taurus axis of eclipses. The lunar eclipse in the sign of Taurus on the 28th of October is the final eclipse in that sequence, which has been running since around April of 2022 up until the end of this month. So with the lunar eclipse at the end of the month in Taurus, we are closing out a chapter and culminating something that's been going on in your Taurus house and your Scorpio house too, that axis, but specifically the Taurus house of your chart. The Nine of Pentacles. Sometimes these final eclipses bring about rewards. And the King of Wands. Yeah, that looks very, very like a triumphant end to the month to me. The King of Wands, much like the Emperor, really sees you in a powerful position at various points this month. I feel like this is the respect and authority and command you've been yearning for on some level, Pisces. I mean, it feels really good to be respected, especially if there has been any sense of that being diminished by you perceiving at least that it's been diminished by others, and you're just not receiving the recognition or receiving the sort of attention or visibility even. You might have been working really hard and it's not been seen to be paying off for you. And this month then would really suggest that if that's the case, you feel much more strong. So I like to see the Emperor and the King of Wands, both of course very fiery energies. You know, the flame here, and that's just the King of Wands all over, isn't it? The flame. So I feel like you have a very strong sense of direction, purpose at the end of the month. The Nine of Pentacles and King of Wands, I feel like your talents for sure are being seen and recognized. But first and foremost, the Nine of Pentacles, they work on their own. They do their own thing, they stay in their own lane, and they don't necessarily need external validation. The results basically show themselves, and it's very, very obvious and tangible. But the King of Wands kind of commands this sort of respect and validation. And I feel like the work you've been doing in private and the gifts that you have been cultivating and the skills you've been cultivating and the results that have been coming through in private, at the end of the month, that kind of gets the recognition that you've been waiting for it to have been getting at some point. The Nine of Pentacles speaks to a lot of material abundance, and this material abundance of course does not need to be money in the bank, but that could be a reward coming through, especially if you have a Libra or Aries rising, because the eclipse is coming into your money houses. But conversely, if you have got a, let me think, Capricorn rising, you may also be seeing these rewards coming through in your sixth house of work too. So the Nine of Pentacles could also just be resources that you have in terms of like a lot of food, a lot of plentiful land, plentiful skills, and seeing yourself as like a very infinite resource. So I just think that the end of the month, like you really overcome any challenges and get all that respect and status and reputation that you've been yearning for back, or maybe presented to you for the first time in a really long time. The message with the Seven of Wands then is don't back down, stick to your principles. Even if at the time you worry that it's not going to give you that, you know, and it often doesn't with principles. They don't always yield the short term and kind of instant gratification, but if you do the right thing from the get-go, even if it takes years, right? Even if it takes 7 weeks, 7 months, you know that it's never going to catch up on you, and kind of like you're never going to show your ass because you've always done the right thing. And sometimes that takes a really long time to pay off. But the price of a clear conscience, of course, that's everything. But secondarily, I'm getting a message to say, right, Pisces, you did the right thing from the very start. Sooner or later, that will be seen. And all of these Six of Wands, think of them as like the people trying to bring you down, not necessarily the haters, but look, with this, the King of Wands energy, Leo, and this is a Leo energy here as well with the Seven of Wands. It's like, yeah, there might be fans, you might have a fan base, you know, and then there's always, with that new set of challenges that come with the Seven of Wands, when you reach a certain spot, people are likely to want to see you fall from grace. It's just human nature. But if you've always acted in integrity, then you have nothing to worry about. Pisces, I'm going to be moving on now to the extended version of this, but if this is all you're sticking around for, I would love if you would subscribe. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.